Hey there, Ninja Clan. Got a new FaB gameplay video today for you through the talishar.net client. As always, we are playing our favorite hero, Mask of Momentum, and today we will be going up against Turn 1 Tomeltai. This matchup is supposed to be pretty free, but in the event that your Dromai opponent gets a Turn 0 or Turn 1 Tomeltai, it can be difficult, because we don't get to do 5 things. Our opening hand is, of course, incredible. 2 Art of Wars is actually very bad. We do get to kind of maybe do something here. Lead with Brand, follow up with Blaze. We can pick up our Phoenix Flame, attack for 1, send a Kodachi without Go Again. Art of War, of course, does not have a cost of 0 and therefore does not trigger the Kodachi Go Again clause. But then we put an Art of War in Arsenal and we are mostly off to the races on turn 2. Opponent decides to give Wave of Reality and 2 life to the Brand with Cinderclaw. Here we're already suspecting that something's up. I'm suspecting that this amount of time is our opponent deciding whether or not they want to go for the turn 1 Tomeltai. Giving us 2 pieces of armor here. This is absolutely our clue for what's about to happen. With a hand like this, we can't exactly punish them for it. If the turn was set up a little differently, I could see firing off an Art of War here just to really push some damage, but there isn't much we can do to stop what's going to happen. We at least chew through the Wave of Reality Spectral Shield. We get our opponent's crown and the front half of Furnace. Opponent pitching a red here, generating the Ash for Tomeltai, possibly deciding how to fix the top of the deck if they need another blue. Leaving the card on top means that there's absolutely nothing we can do to stop this. So setting an Art of War in Arsenal is probably the best case scenario here, that we can have a very explosive turn on the back of this Tomeltai. Unfortunately, we don't have a blue, so there's only a limited amount of how insane this turn can be. A few things happen when we lose the Mask of Momentum. 1, sequencing doesn't matter anymore. 2, sequencing doesn't matter anymore. And there are a couple of ways to look at this. The first being, because we can no longer get our Mask of Momentum triggered, there's no reason to send 114, 114, 314, 212, these awkward blocks, awkward breakpoints to try to trick our opponent into giving us free value. On the other hand, it's sort of like the weights falling off Rock Lee in the Chunin arc against Gara. Our power just explodes because we don't need to send awkward turns. We're playing like Emberblade at this point, where it's just all about value. We don't need to work in Kodachis. We don't need to save resources and base our attacks on what our opponent does. We just send value. And sometimes that leads to higher damage turns because we don't need to keep our breakpoints for masteries. We just get to hit stuff. So based on where we are in this game, we can send Brand, and the back half of Double Strike with a Shuko trigger will kill the Tomeltai. Even without a Mask of Momentum, it is still important to kill Dromai's dragons, because Dromai keeping dragons on the board is how we lose the game. She is able to block out with her whole hand, get 12, 13, maybe 14 points of value, depending on any Oasis respites or defense reactions available, and send dragons back at us. So keeping the board clear of dragons is important, especially Tomeltai, We don't want to lose our Furnace, we don't want to lose our Shuko here, and it's just 5 damage hit. So killing Tomeltai is step 1. We can send Double Strike number 1 at Dromai, leak a point of damage, Brand at Tomeltai, Double Strike at Tomeltai. We can send our Ronin Renegade at Dromai. This will give us a 3rd Draconic Link on the chain to pick up our Phoenix Flame to send another point of damage. Awkwardly, it leaves us with this breaking point in hand. So there is an argument for having blocked the Tomeltai just to prevent some damage. What I like doing here is sending Double Strike, Brand, Double Strike at Tomeltai, then the breaking point at Dromai. Hopefully this is a real card. I have been given some advice over the last weekend by a particularly strong Dromai opponent in calling that I really shouldn't be running breaking point into this matchup. The reason being that good Dromais are only leaving D-reacts and sigils in arsenal. That, yeah, if you can snipe a dragon or a blaze headlong, something like that, sure, that's really good, but it is so unlikely for that to happen. At breaking point, being an awkward 1-for-5 finisher that does no on-hit, it's just bad. Cut the breaking points, at least 2 of them, run Command and Conquers from the sideboard. Maybe they're good as poppers, maybe they just are another finisher at Dromai, but at least with CNCs, the Dromai has to protect a sink in the arsenal. They can't just ditch it for value. So the line I like here is 3 at Tomeltai, 1 at Dromai, 2 at Tomeltai, breaking point. It's 5 damage. The other line we could take is Ronin Renegade at Dromai, pick up a Phoenix Flame, send that, and then pitch breaking point for the Kodachi. It's 5 damage either way. It keeps the same number of cards in our deck either way. The only thing we don't want to do is hold on to this breaking point. It is an awkward card to have when we're trying to set up a good Art of War turn, as the only thing it's really good for is banishing. We would rather get it out of our hand, increase our chance at drawing a blue to pay for the Art of War. At least with this line, with our 5 damage, we are threatening the Dromai. It's possible that they left a dragon in Arsenal. I did say only good Dromais don't do that. I want to clarify, as I feel our Dromai opponent here is quite good. Sometimes they just have awkward cards to Arsenal. It isn't to say that Dromai will only Arsenal if they have a Sigil or a D-React, just based on what Dromai builds look like into FaB, that is likely to be what's in the arsenal. Most Dromais are running 3 sigils, 6 D-reacts into us, which can be very hard to deal with. Sending the Sweeping Blow, generating an Ash, playing an Uvia. Fairly good turn for our opponent here. Off the back of 3 cards, they develop a board. The thing with Uvia, now that we no longer have a mask trigger, we will never kill this Uvia. Killing this Uvia represents 6 damage that we could be sending at Dromai, and Uvia, having attacked us once, will need to attack 6 more times to generate more value for the Dromai than we would gain by killing Uvia. And even without mask, it is unlikely that this game is going to last 6 more turns. Additionally, you may think, well, if Dromai builds Ash, that's creating babies, that's generating more value from Uvia. If Dromai is using her Ash to make babies, we still have Kodachis. We would love for Dromai to turn Ash into Ashwings rather than Asvali's and Kylorias. This Uvia is going to live for the rest of the game because we have no incentive to kill it. we have more incentive to throw 6 damage in Dromai every turn. We have an interesting hand here. We did draw the blue to play the Art of War, but we also have Spreading Flames, Brand, and Blaze. Between these 3 cards, Spreading Flames is worth about 5 points of value. 6 points of value. Spreading Flames is a 1 for 6, based off of Brand turning a Kodachi Draconic, which gets a point of damage, Phoenix Flame getting a point of damage, and Blaze Headlong getting a point of damage. So there is an argument to say, we play Art of War, we pitch Diplomacy, we banish the Brand, we have 2 floating resources for Flames and Blaze. But this is such a good hand for just sending damage. With the 4 cards we drew, we don't need to play our Art of War. We can just sit on it and wait for an awkward hand to come up. So a hand with 2 blues, a hand with no starter, a hand with too many finishers. This hand is just gas. So looking here, I'm prepared to just send a traditional Spreading Flames line. Open with Kodachi, pitch the blue, follow it up with Spreading Flames, Brand, Kodachi, Phoenix, Blaze. This line is sequenced for Mask and Momentum triggers. Without a Mask trigger to give, there's an argument for having attack with the second Kodachi later to potentially bluff a 1 cost in our hand. I don't know if I was cognizant of it at this time. There's an argument for throwing the spreading line in such a way that we would be triggering Mask of Momentum just to keep that muscle memory. Perfect it in practice so that you don't get it wrong in a tournament setting. But either way, we do send the spreading line. We get our 6 points of value from Spreading Flames. Turning Blaze Headlong into a Lava Burst is pretty good. And we keep our Art of War for a hand like this. 2 blues is kind of awkward, especially when we can't trigger Mask of Momentum. Pitching our Brand, banishing a Lava Vein Loyalty, keeping 2 resources, and potentially drawing 2 head jabs to pair with our Mounting Anger is very good. It doesn't happen. Opponent plays Lost in Thought. Pitches a Burn Them All, I think is an interesting line, and we're going to see our opponent block with a Burn Them All later in the game. I met our opponent over this last weekend. Very nice guy. Was hoping that I was recording this game. Here we are. Hello. Something I did notice throughout this game, based on you having an Uvia out, I'll mention it again later when you do block with the Burn Them All, but Burn Them All incentivizes me to kill Uvia. It incentivizes me to throw 6 damage at Uvia to stop you from getting 2 points of value a turn, because 2 points of value a turn, how many reds you have in your graveyard, is actually threatening to me. 1 point of value a turn, I don't care. For this turn, we're choosing not to block the Kylorrea here. We run the Furnace so that we can give a 2 block and a Furnace to stop the card draw. With Dromai here having no resources floating, only 1 Ash, I'm fine to let them Arsenal because I do still want to fire off this Art of War. Even with 3 cards, should be a much better Art of War with 4 cards, but with 3 and 2 blues, it's fine. We'll have 2 floating resources, we'll have a 0 cost in Arsenal, but more importantly, because we have a Ponder, we need to play out our Art of War to free up the Arsenal. I really hate losing Ponder value here by not being able to utilize the card that we have just drawn. So we have a pretty awkward draw. The double finishers is not good. Having another 1 cost in hand is not good. So pretty awkward. What we're going to do with this is take advantage of our Ponder token, getting us another card to Arsenal. We'll play the Mounting Anger for 5. Send it at Dromai's face. Hopefully they let it go. We can banish our Lava Burst. we'll send a Kodachi at Kailoria, we'll pitch our breaking point to send another Kodachi at Kailoria to kill it, and then send breaking point at our opponent. Arsenal, the card that we ponder. Worst case scenario for us, it's a blue. We even have the option to pitch it to FaB to pick up our Phoenix Flame to put in Arsenal. This isn't the greatest hand we could have drawn, but it definitely isn't the worst. We are still going to push 12 points of damage, potentially 13, with this Art of War. I'm throwing the Flicker Trick. This is a card that I'm seeing more often in Dromai. I don't know if I think it's necessary in the 5 matchup. Blocking 5 often isn't better than blocking 4. Here it is. Here it's very strong, but overall, Dromais who are creating space in their sideboard for the Flicker Trick against FaB, I don't know if it's necessary. If they're also playing it against Katsu, I can see more value there. But in this matchup, playing D-Reacts 7 through 9, I don't like as much as playing something a little more aggressively slanted. So we do get to send our 13-point line, mounting for 5, the 2 Kodachis, and the Lava Burst. Still sending good damage, getting the Kailoria off of the table, further establishing our life lead. Drawing a Mounting Anger off of the Ponder is really good, especially when we see 2 blues in hand. Opponent playing Rake the Embers and generating the 3 Ash. Is fairly... I don't know if I would call it problematic. We do have such a big life lead, and we still have our Kodachis. Asvalai coming down as well is going to deal some damage to us, but it is one Asvalai that we don't have to worry about as our life total gets lower. Asvalai also has enough health that we can send a Soulbead Strike at it in order to get value from the card. Without Mask Momentum, using the Soulbead Strike to attack is a lot less good, but it's a lot better than leaving it in our arsenal. So how do we want to sequence this turn? Knowing that we would still like to arsenal a card, still take advantage of FaB's very good 5-card hands. We definitely need to kill Asvalai. It would be good to kill the Ashwings, so we thankfully have our Soulbead Strike, 1/2 of Double Strike, and 2 Kodachis to kill these 3 dragons. So what we can do is open with a Mounting Anger at the opponent, see what cards we get on blocks. Send a Double Strike at Dromai, deal 1 point of damage. Soulbead Strike goes into Asvalai, gets the Shuko trigger, so that's 3. Use our 2 floating resources to Kodachi both of the Ashwings, send the back half of Double Strike at Dromai, and arsenal a Brand with Cinderclaw. Because sequencing doesn't matter without the Mask of Momentum, there's no particular order we need to do this in, but how I would like to sequence this turn, when everything is said and done, is have 3 dead dragons, Uvia being the only dragon left, and a Brand with Cinderclaw in arsenal. I'm not looking to get any sort of Phoenix Flame value here. I just want to put a brand in arsenal, kill the threatening dragons, and set up for our next 5-card hand. We're not in a ton of danger at this point. Life totals are still fairly even, but Dromai has no Ash. So that really limits what she can do on her turn. No Kylorias are coming down, no Yenderais are coming down, we don't have to worry about a Dominia. We only have to worry about raw damage, snatches, Ravenous Rabbles, but we haven't seen a lot of those from this Dromai. We've seen a lot more dragons and a lot more willingness to play the fat dragons, Uvias, Miragais, more disruptive cards like Lost in Thought. So I'm not concerned at this point, even without our mask. Choosing to send the brand here is not a move I agree with. We may be looking to arsenal the Phoenix Flame and just get value where we can. I don't think we need to get value here. Yes, we miss a point of damage by not having our Phoenix Flame, but we also have a much better card in Arsenal, or we have an Arsenal at all. At this point, I would not want to play this Phoenix Flame. I would want to Arsenal it. We don't get anything from having dealt an additional point of damage. There's no Shuko trigger to miss. It's just 1 point of damage that we would rather have in our graveyard anyway for potential Rise from the Ashes or big brand turns coming up. Choosing to attack here, this whole line is not something I agree with. I would have liked to arsenal that brand and set up for a 5-card hand. Additionally, not having the Phoenix Flame in Arsenal is sort of troublesome. At this point, we miss a point of damage by not being able to trigger our Shuko on the Lava Burst. So what are we doing with this hand? As it is, we kind of have a junky one. A lot of cards that look good without actually being good together. We can't go 4 links wide to use the Lava Burst unless we wanted to pitch an Enlightened Strike to activate a Kodachi. I don't love that. We can play our Brand with Cinderclaw, follow it up with an Enlightened Strike, bottoming the Ravenous Rabble and snapping to draw a card and get go again. Keeping 2 Draconic Links on the chain and hoping we draw into a head jab. I don't like that plan either. To utilize this hand well, I may be looking at sending Brand, Rabble, Kodachi pitching E-Strike, Lava Burst, picking up the Phoenix Flame and setting it in Arsenal. If Rabble flips a red, that is 13 points of damage with a card in Arsenal. That's fine. I think that's the best option we have. E-Strike bottoming the card to draw and snapping is kind of risky if we draw a 1-cost card that doesn't even let us pitch for a Kodachi. So it's really a gamble that uses our Snapdragons and maybe doesn't even pay off. Rabble flips a red, we see the head jab, but it's really just too late to act on that. What we may be doing here now is throwing the E-Strike, drawing a card, bottoming Brand, and snapping. We send our head jab, which turns on Lava Burst, so it's a little more damage. We used our Snapdragons for it. It's not something, we didn't get that much value out of sending the Snap versus sending Brand, Kadachi Lava Burst. So it isn't too late past John. You really can fix this, just don't send the E-Strike. Send Brand Kadachi Lava Burst, pick up an Arsenal of Phoenix Flame. Choosing the worst line, E-Strike, draw a card, snap, Lava Burst. A line where we attack with a Kadachi and put a Phoenix Flame in Arsenal, pushes 13 points of damage while keeping our Snapdragons alive. Here we are, and leaving a card in Arsenal. It's a Phoenix Flame, which isn't ideal, but it does turn on any Blaze Headlong, Lava Vein Loyalty we draw. Here we're pushing 9, 12, 17 points of damage at the cost of our snaps and with no card in Arsenal. So snaps in this game was worth 4 points of value, which just isn't good. The snaps used on a snatch is a theoretical 7 points of value. Snaps used on a finisher to play another finisher is a minimum of 5 points of value. As a floor, something more like 6, 7, or 8 points is more realistic when you consider lava bursting into assault, or when you consider salting into a breaking point. This line, I think, is just the worst. So here, as I was saying, we have our opponent blocking with Burn Them All, preventing vanilla damage, even over blocking. If I'm Dromai here, I am blocking with Chromai. I might not even block with the Chromai, honestly. Though with no Ash, I do like the Chromai block in hindsight. Block with the Dromai, take 2 down to 15, play Burn Them All. You have so many cards in your graveyard to keep this around for the rest of the game. And now Uvi is attacking for 2 a turn instead of 1. I think it's just a much stronger play than overblocking and losing that damage. We have a 4-card hand here with the potential to Art of War. At this point, I don't love that play. I like sending Ronin, Lava Vein, Kadachi, Phoenix Flame. It does seem like that's what we're choosing to do. Arsenal the Art of War and set up for a 5-card hand rather than a 4. Dromai is still on the back foot here. No Ash to really push the high-value dragons. Leaves us in a good position to take any crackback and then throw out our 5-card Art of War. Opponent even giving us a Yenderai here. We see that they may be sitting on at least a couple dragons in hand. Just taking them off of any possible resources to mount pressure. There's still a couple of cards in Dromai's deck that we could be afraid of. 2-card Command and Conquer, potentially sniping our Art of War is something that would make us very sad. But generally, we're in a good position here. Just pushing our value from a 3-card hand, arsenaling a Art of War, drawing up into something that does not look very good. We will be pitching the Salt the Wound, banishing the Breaking Point. We'll start with Rising the Ashes to pick up the Phoenix Flame just to put that ability active, but not looking to banish the Phoenix Flame. Dromai is not in so low a position that we need to be worried about losing value from banishing the finisher. We're still in a good enough position that we don't need to banish our Phoenix Flame, and this game will likely go for a few more turns. Dromai is very good at just living, so we are going to want that Phoenix Flame available to snipe any babies, just push a little more damage where possible. I don't know exactly what I'm thinking about here. This line seems fairly obvious in hindsight. There's a world where we rise from the ashes, send Phoenix for 3, Kadachi for 1, Rabble for 4, Breaking Point for 5, and keep waiting on our Art of War. But I'm not sure I like that plan. I do, at this point, like firing it off, banishing the Breaking Point, and finding some more damage. The turn I'm describing is a 13-point turn with an on-hit at the end, but there are so many options that Dromai has for not getting punished by the Breaking Point. This could be a defense reaction. We haven't seen a Sigil yet. We reveal a Snatch off the top, so we know we would have had at least one very strong finisher. If Hedgehog came behind it, this would have been a very strong turn for us. Dromai giving us the Dragon to block, still leaking 1 point of damage. The Arsenal not being a D-react here, it's actually pretty confidence-inspiring as far as playing Breaking Point being the right play. So maybe I was onto something, but I still do think playing the Art of War here was correct. That might just be my opinion on Breaking Point in this matchup changing, really devaluing the card and thinking, well, if I could have banished it, that's the best thing I could do with it, which I suppose is just more of an indication that I'm ready to start building this card out. We get the D-react from hand, which is fine. A bit annoying that the Dromai has it, but we do get the back half of Furnace, which is very important. Dromai has been Ash-starved this entire game, and is now only more so. We do see that we would have drawn a head jab behind the Snatch, so looking at a very, very strong turn. Let's let this Kyloria resolve. The damage we have in hand currently is 2, 5, 8, 9, 13. We don't even need to play the Art of War here. With Dromai at 7, I'm prepared to just send 13 points of damage, even if Snatch would overlap with our Art of War. But I think what is a better line is blocking Kyloria with these 2 pieces of equipment, playing the Art of War to banish the Snatch, make sure that we don't run into a double finisher that gums up our hand, and just send both Kadachis at Kyloria, 8 damage between the 2 head jabs at Dromai, and then 2 more cards. We could be looking at 2 more head jabs, sending a total of 16 at Dromai, which is going to get at least 3 cards out of the hand. We also don't risk hitting with our Snatch, then finding that we still have an Art of War in Arsenal and losing that efficiency. With the E-Strike here, we can look at sending still Arkadachis at Kyloria, 4, 4, 8, a total of 16. Like we had said, at Dromai, Dromai is forced to give us 10 points of armor, 10 points of block to not just be dead. It's possible that they could have 2, 3 blocks and a defense reaction in hand. But that's still just really good. If we get to strip Dromai's whole hand and still push a theoretical 4 points of damage, we take them to 3, bring them that much closer to Kadachi lock, and Dromai really has no counterplay to that. That's just strong. Sending our damage at Dromai to see what, if anything, gets blocked. No D-react on the Rising Resentment feels like a good start. if Dromai has to give us a card to not be dead here and also go to 2, we could potentially look at sending the Kodachi's face. Maybe if Dromai had fewer cards in hand, that would be a more viable line, but I really feel like the way we lose this is by undervaluing this Kyloria. Keeping in mind, too, that if our opponent has a Sigil of Solace available, we just get blown out. Potentially what we're looking at doing here, we do see the Sigil. So what we can look at doing here is we activate the FaB, we pick up the Phoenix Flame, we send the Flame at Kyloria, which kills it. Now we send 8 at Dromai. Dromai, with a theoretical 3/3 blocks in hand, can give us 2 of them and go to 1, which puts her in Kodachi lock. If she has 2 blocks in hand, she's dead, or has to give us 3 cards. But generally, I think that was a greedy play. I would have liked sending the Kodachis at Kyloria. Though I suppose with the line I took, there was an extra point of damage there. So credit to Past John, activating FaB to pick up Phoenix Flame for 2 instead of sending sending a Kodachi for 1. A higher value line for pushing damage on Dromai. So my mistake. He knew what he was talking about. Here, we're just looking at pushing damage. The Salt the Wound is going to get pitched to use Kodachis rather than finish with it. We have the Snatch as a finisher. Salt is worth more for being double Kodachis and picking up a Phoenix Flame than for being damage, especially when Dromai already has to block our low value attacks to not die. Picking up our Phoenix Flame, Phoenix putting Dromai down to 1, or getting a full block. Checking out the new Command & Conquer art. This is the first time I had seen it. I'm still not sure how I get it, but it is pretty. Sending our Snatch. Dromai with a 2 block here just loses. With a 3 block goes to 1. With a D-React, stays at 2. But has no hand. We'll send the Uvia, put us to 13, and now we just try again to kill her. With no Snapdragons, there is a chance that we brick, but we draw fairly well. Rise from the Ashes here picks up the Phoenix Flame, sends Rising Resentment for 6. Depending on how many cards we get out of Dromai's hand, we could send the Phoenix Flame on its own. What I'm more likely to do here is send E-Strike bottoming the Phoenix Flame. Ravenous Rabble, revealing the blue, only gets 1 card from Dromai. That's fine. Rising Resentment is going to get at least 2, followed by E-Strike, the mode being +2, bottoming the Phoenix Flame, just wins the game. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The only time you really need to banish your Phoenix Flame or bottom it or pitch it is when you're about to win, when you're about to lose. In this case, we are about to win. So, something I do want to point out, just because I had made the mistake a few minutes ago, keeping in mind resource efficiency. When you have 1 resource floating and it's a question between your Kodachi or your Phoenix Flame and you have any kind of buff active, the Phoenix Flame would trigger Shuko. You have Art of War. Always better to pick up your Phoenix Flame than to use the Kodachi. That should be fairly obvious, but considering that I just made the mistake, it's still worth pointing out. Dromai with some possibly suboptimal plays, but largely being ash-starved worked in our favor. Yes, that game would have been easier with mask momentum. The game is always easier with a piece of armor than not having a piece of armor. But getting your mask sniped turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, even turn 0 is never a reason to panic. You play out the game. FaB still does very efficient FaB things on 5 and 4 cards. Look for your openings. Play more efficiently than you would with Mask of Momentum, because you don't need to worry about sequencing. You don't need to worry about links on the chain. You just need to worry about winning the game, which you should be able to do without much trouble. So, I hope you all enjoyed this. Like, comment, subscribe, leave any questions in the comments below. Questions you have about the match, about me, about FaB. If you have any matchups that you want me to seek out on Talishar, I'm happy to do so. Otherwise, I will see you all later for more FaB gameplay. Take care.